Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today we are unpacking one of the most dramatic street-level political spectacles to hit Durban in recent months. Picture this, more than 300 supporters of the uMkhonto weSizwe party, better known as the MK party, marching down South Coast Road in Clairwood, Durban, chanting struggle songs, waving party flags, and bringing traffic to a grinding halt. Drivers were stuck, taxis hooted in frustration, and businesses in the area quietly pulled down their shutters, knowing exactly what was coming. The focus of this march was not service delivery or load shedding for once, but rather a fierce demonstration against what the MK party calls the unchecked hiring of illegal foreigners in local businesses. It wasn't just a protest, it was a highly organized blitz. Labour Desk co-ordinator Bongumusa Mhlongo told the press that companies had actually been notified beforehand. They were told straight up that MK party members would be arriving to root out those flouting employment laws. Think of it as an unscheduled HR audit, but with political songs and police vans waiting in the background. Mhlongo explained the reasoning quite plainly: locals are angry. Jobs are scarce, unemployment is biting, and some businesses in the logistics sector are accused of preferring undocumented foreign drivers. Add to that allegations of underpayment and union busting, and you have a boiling pot of frustration. The MK party seized on that anger, claiming they were simply responding to calls from the public. Whether one agrees with their methods or not, there's no denying that the demonstration tapped into a very raw nerve in South Africa's political climate. Now, to be fair, this kind of action isn't entirely new. Similar initiatives have cropped up in Pietermaritzburg, where MK party members reportedly stormed factories in Eastwood, demanding that owners explain why undocumented workers were being hired while South Africans stood in unemployment queues. And if you think the movement is only confined to a few angry activists, think again. Friday's march in Durban looked almost festive, with singing, dancing, and banners flying, while public order police and metro officers kept a watchful eye. It felt like a mix between a union strike, a political rally, and a street carnival, except the music wasn't pumping from speakers, it was rising from the voices of hundreds determined to make a point. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Among the crowd were not only seasoned party supporters but also everyday people who have lived through the crushing effects of joblessness. Take Landau Ngzumalo, for example, a 28-year-old who was retrenched just 2 months ago from a textile company in Clairwood. She spoke about how unfairly workers were treated, how management actively discouraged union membership, and how workers were effectively silenced. Her story echoes what so many South Africans have been experiencing: rising unemployment, shrinking industries, and companies taking advantage of desperation. If we zoom out for a moment, this protest is part of a larger, deeply complex debate in South Africa about migration, labor, and the economy. On the one hand, you have locals who feel excluded, angry that foreigners, especially those without papers, are filling roles that should be available to South Africans. On the other hand, you have businesses who often argue that foreign workers are willing to work longer hours, for lower wages, and without constant strikes or demands. It's a tough balance between human rights, economic pragmatism, and political pressure. And of course, the MK party is not shy about using this issue to bolster its political credentials. Remember, this is a party led by none other than former President Jacob Zuma, a man who knows how to court popular sentiment like few others. By positioning themselves as defenders of the unemployed youth and guardians of local job opportunities, the MK party is digging its heels deep into a political narrative that resonates strongly in KwaZulu-Natal and beyond. But here's the twist: while supporters see these marches as righteous, critics argue that they are stoking xenophobia, playing dangerously with people's frustrations. It's one thing to demand fair hiring practices, but quite another when foreign nationals become scapegoats for the failures of government policy, corruption, and mismanagement. After all, Unemployment in South Africa didn't begin with undocumented migrants, it's been a structural crisis for decades, worsened by a sluggish economy and poor governance. That said, there's no denying the effectiveness of the MK party's tactics. Businesses in Clairwood literally closed their doors in fear of the march. Logistics companies were put on the spot. Even the police had to maintain a heavy presence to keep things from spiraling out of control. Whether you love or loathe their methods, you have to admit, they know how to grab headlines. Humor aside, it's hard not to notice the irony here. Many of the same political networks that helped drive South Africa's economy into the ditch are now marching on the streets demanding accountability from private companies. It's like the arsonist returning to lecture the fire department. But that's politics in South Africa. Yesterday's scandal is today's rallying cry. The human side, though, is what sticks. People like Landau are caught in the middle. They lose jobs, face retrenchments, and watch as their dreams slip further away. For them, these marches are not about party politics, but about survival. That's why they join the chants, why they raise their voices, and why the message of a locals first feels so powerful in the current climate. So where does this leave us? South Africa is walking a tightrope. On one side, there's the legitimate demand for jobs, fair wages, and opportunities for locals. On the other, there's the risk of targeting vulnerable groups and fueling hostility. The MK party is betting that the former will outweigh the latter in the minds of voters, especially as the country gears up for municipal contests in the coming years. One thing's certain, this won't be the last time we see such marches. With unemployment still sky high, and with political parties eager to outdo one another in capturing the frustration of ordinary people, expect more blitzes, more factory inspections, and more confrontations on the streets. Durban might have been the stage this time, but the script is ready to be repeated across the country. If you've made it this far, here's the big takeaway. These marches are not just about foreigners or locals. They are about power, frustration, and the desperate search for answers in a country where the political system keeps promising jobs but delivers very little. The MK party knows how to dramatize that pain and turn it into spectacle. Whether that spectacle leads to real change, or just more political theater, is still up in the air. That's where I'll leave it for today. What do you think? Do these marches represent legitimate activism, or are they simply stirring division? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, I'd love to hear your perspective. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and as always, see you next time.